I was talking
Happy,
about Butterfinger.
happy Monday, everybody. Thanks for finding the Geek Spot with us. Frank
Yeah,
was apparently talking about some softish candy that he enjoys with a crusty
yeah, a Butterfinger,
component. Oh,
and they're fresh. They're delicious.
it's a Baby Ruth before. I didn't know you went on to Butterfingers.
Right. I'm eating a Baby Ruth now, but I was talking about when you get a Butterfinger, and every once in a while, and you bite into it, and like the middle part of the Butterfinger isn't hard as a rock, and it's just all soft, and it all just like crumble. Oh, it's so good. Hi, Charles and Dom.
That
Mm.
that sounds exciting for you. I'm happy
Yeah.
for you.
Um.
That you had that experience earlier today.
No, this was
Oh,
over the weekend. I had a nice, delicious Butterfinger.
got it. Well, that's good. Butterfingers are delightful.
Mm-hmm.
So how you been, man? We missed last week. I was busy doing stage stuff, but I'll hit that in a minute.
It's been a shitty week, but I don't have to go into all that. Yeah, it's I'm here. We're
I've
doing good.
I've heard you have a new exciting endeavor going on, too.
Yeah, I'm rewatching Battlestar Galactica. It's a lot of fun.
I'm at using your mouth parts to talk to people about things.
Thank God you said that. Yes, we had a rousing initial show. T and I launched into a wrestling podcast called The Island of Relevancy. If you know anything about wrestling, you'll understand why it's called The Island of Relevancy. That is a play off of the Bloodline, their Island of Relevancy.
Oh,
And we had our first episode last Wednesday. A lot of people jumped in the chat and joined in, so we're gonna do it weekly. I have to see how playoffs are shaking out for hockey this week. I haven't had a chance to talk to T about that. Surprise, T!
yeah. Hockey playoffs are fun, too.
Yeah, they are.
Yeah, we might given the holiday next Monday. we we might we might give you all a little sneak peek of that next week. We'll see what happens if you haven't already caught it
Sneak peek of what?
of your other show for
Oh
our
yeah,
audio listeners.
yeah,
See what we
yeah.
can do there. But yeah, as you said, other than that, there was a lot of stuff this past week.
Oh yeah, there was. How about you? How you doing? You had a lot going on.
I did. So my oldest kid had a bunch of music stuff he was off and doing about and things like that. That was great. A lot of competitions. My middle one was the lead in his school play that was Beauty and the Beast. Last Saturday, he decided to lean back on one leg, which should be perfectly fine for a 13-year-old kid to do. Apparently, his kneecap did not agree. So
No.
he ended up with a fractured kneecap and a trip to the ER and mobilization brace and crutches 3 days before the show debuted. So being as we are in a phenomenal community of parents and teachers and directors for this program, by the time I got home from the ER, I already had the main set builder and genius of all of those things giving me a message about, hey, I have some ideas. If he's up for it and the director's up for it, we can do this. So by Monday's dress rehearsal, which was the last one before the show started, there was a Beast Mobile
That's amazing.
that my son got to ride on, and the other Beast, they have two different casts, depending on the night. So the other Beast stepped back from his prince role and stepped into a medic role and pushed his cart around. They designed him a costume with the medic symbol on the chest.
That's so awesome.
And they reworked. Other guys stepped up and stepped into the prince role that they had both been filling, and it was pretty phenomenal.
That's awesome. I love to hear that kind of stuff.
There was never a question of like, oh, how are we going to replace him? It's how are we going to get him on stage?
That's amazing, especially today. That's so wholesome and awesome to hear.
Yeah, it's a phenomenal community. Like I said,
And it worked out well. You went.
Yeah, it's like his show was great. They did their run. They did Wednesday. He was the lead Thursday and Saturday. And their run's all done. On to the next thing. So now he's got like all county band coming up and a volleyball tournament that he will not be participating directly in.
They're
surgery
not gonna help him at volleyball?
and all sorts of stuff. So busy stretch.
They're not gonna help him in volleyball?
He's going to coach. Actually, he already went last week.
Oh, that's awesome.
Broke his kneecap and was like, "I'm still going to practice to go coach."
That's really cool.
Yeah, he is bound and determined to keep on keeping on.
Oh, his mom is doing a great job with him.
She is. Look,
I
I'm
mean,
busy. I'm busy watching this awful Office show that you guys all rave about, and a bunch of other stuff. I did sneak some other stuff in the last 2 weeks in between building sets, and today we tore all the sets down. So that was the couple hours this afternoon doing that.
I watched some shit too.
I know. I'm
Like
so proud.
current stuff.
I know we are all caught up. I think we'll close out with that one because
Yeah.
that's one that if you have not seen, you do not want anything spoiled for you.
Not at all. All I'm gonna say is, Paradise on Hulu. After the show, go watch it. That's all. We'll talk about it, like he said, at the end of the show. I was hesitant because whenever anybody tells me to go watch something, I usually go, "Yeah, I'll get to it." But he told me to watch Lioness, and I burned through 2 seasons really fast. And then he said this, and I was like, "Oh, okay, maybe." And wow, yeah, absolutely, absolutely worth seeing.
It's only one season. It's only 8 episodes. They're all like about an hour.
Yeah.
It's on Hulu or Disney Plus if you're trying to figure out where to get it. But
Yeah,
we will save that till the end of the show. We'll talk all the other little more mainstream, but Paradise should be on your list because it's better than all of the other things I've watched in the last year.
So you're saying it's better than The Office? I don't know.
Yeah, look, I don't know what's going on with season 6 of The Office, but I am in a very rough patch. I'm questioning all of my life decisions right now.
I kind of want to just jump right into that real fast because I'll get to the list after this, but you're struggling with where in The Office are you? I think we stopped at like Koi Pond, I think, right? Or something somewhere around there.
Around there, I mean, Jim and Michael are co-managers.
Yes, they are.
Um,
Michael's in charge of big picture stuff, and Jim's in charge of the day-to-day.
Sort of, but not really at all.
Right.
Because there's
right.
no big picture stuff. So yeah, so we can hit that.
Yeah.
I think I watched 4 episodes.
Oh, please tell me you had to have gotten there.
I'm just trying to get through this god awful show.
This season takes a real turn.
We'll see. We'll see if I got to where you think this season takes a turn for the better.
Oh no, I didn't say that. Well, no, I didn't say that.
Oh, great.
Definitely didn't get that far down.
Great.
I think I know where you got. Go ahead.
So I got through Murder. With
Murder was great.
Dwight giving all the examples of the martial arts stuff, and Jim encourages his employees, and then he makes his employees do horrible things to themselves, like Dwight punching himself in the nuts. So I mean,
Great opening.
just Jim's still awful.
A great opening.
We get the email from David Wallace that Michael never read about the potential bankruptcy. Dwight says you can all come work for me as human scarecrows. There's some funny stuff in this one. But Michael's like super stressed about losing his job. Let's not forget Michael just quit the company like 3 months ago and was fine and super stoked to do it. And now he's super concerned the company's going under. So a little questionable there.
He saw what happens when you strike out on your own.
He did.
Yeah.
He did, but still.
Okay.
But we're still doing the slow burn. We're still doing the slow burn of Andy trying to get Aaron.
But the Murder was the episode where they play the game, right?
It is because Michael has him get off the thoughts of the company closing and how does he redirect them all. Jim wants them to keep talking about it. But again, like Jim continues to be an awful boss because at that point after the emails, if he goes and asks Michael, "Hey, what are we doing today?" And then we get Jim saying, "Oh, I only slack off when things are good." So, still not sure why he's great.
Okay.
Michael talks about his vasectomy that he had, which just
snap.
Yeah, which doesn't, it's okay. But yeah, I had a lot of notes for this one, but most of them now that I'm reading them are pretty worthless.
That's fine.
But David Wallace calls back. Michael stays in character, and then it's weird. Not great. but the end was fun. That meme. There was a lot of meme stuff out of this episode between Andy, Dwight, and Pam, and Michael as double agents. Again, Pam randomly jumping back in. It's weird because there's no real set character thing for anybody anymore. It's just whatever the episode is, which is fine. It's 27,000 episodes a season, so they got to do what they got to do. Then we had the shareholder meeting with Dwight as Recyclops. The intro.
Okay, the intro is pretty good.
Yeah, with Jim narrating. I was like, all right, and everybody in the office is cool with him just trashing the office once a year for no reason. It's fun.
Yeah.
They get the limo. DMI, Oscar says, stands for dummies, morons, and idiots. Jim and Ryan start fighting because Ryan doesn't want to consolidate all their contacts into Outlook. Which I was like, oh, this is back then when you're moving things from Rolodexes into computers still.
Yep.
So that's aged a little bit.
Oh yeah.
Mike's on the board with the stage. We get the Jim yelling at Phyllis for taking a 2-hour lunch, even though that's Jim's whole life. And then Ryan sent an email saying that he was less of a boss that even Pam agrees with. Just proves that Jim's worthless on this show. And then he does not retaliate because in corporate America you can't retaliate. So instead, oh wait, he does. He puts Ryan in a closet.
Yeah.
For his office, Ryan should be able to just get Jim fired for that. But unfortunately, we don't do that.
No, we don't do that.
Because the show could be over and it'd be great.
Because it's funny, you still only have 3 seasons left.
Oh my god, I can't believe this show made it past this season. Michael keeps talking on stage. We get all the stupid stuff, right? Nothing great. But Jim's now trying to figure out how to fire Ryan.
Right.
There's also weird editing in this show because, they leave in the limo, and then we cut back to Dwight still in line asking questions, and everybody's still in the crowd. We're like, all right.
Yeah, that was a little odd.
Not the worst of the editing things from the last few months that we've seen. Or the snip of TV shows. Then I feel like you were waiting for Scott's Tots.
I was waiting for Scott's Tots. Scott's Tots is basically talked about as the most cringe episode of The Office. I don't think it's the most cringe, but it definitely is a weird episode.
It's pretty cringe. The whole thing's awful. There wasn't even anything funny about it. The attempt at humor was that Michael's that dumb that he ruined a bunch of kids' lives and gave them laptop battery. That I don't know where the humor was in there.
That was really bad. Really bad.
Meanwhile, in the same time, you have Dwight doing, I guess, the other long burn of trying to get Jim fired. And then teaming up with Ryan by the end of the episode. But I guess that's all out the gate after the next episode once we find out what's going on with David Wallace. So
the Ryan trying to crush the soda can?
It was good, but it was better when Ryan's like, hey, Dwight, I know you have a diabolical plan because I found your diabolical plan on the copier, and it says diabolical plan by Dwight Schrute.
Right.
It was good.
Very Bugs Bunny. And
but the rest of the show, yeah, I was like, this is all awful. T saying the humor is the fact that they actually believed him. I was like, but that's
horrible.
Yeah, that's none of that's why wouldn't they believe the
horrible.
Rich white guy that came to their high school and said, hey, I'm going to pay for all your college tuitions?
He was never rich.
They don't know that.
That's true. They don't know.
I mean, and to be fair, not that he'd be able to pay tuitions, but if he's the number one office for this national company that's getting invited to shareholder meetings, the dude should have some cash.
You would think.
Unless they took all of his money and gave it to Jim to promote him into that bullshit job that they gave him.
He likes magic sets.
And then, T saying he wasn't rich, he was a random white guy. I get it, but they didn't know that.
No.
He was a random white guy in a suit, in the slums of Scranton.
Yeah.
Which I could have gone to Allentown. It's fine. And then I got through Secret Santa, which I barely even have notes for because it was also as cringe. I don't know who wrote these two. I didn't go in and look.
Oh, I'll tell you.
But this and Secret Santa were both awful. I mean, The Aaron getting the 12 Days of Christmas and all of them attacking her, that was funny.
Yeah.
Um,
Mindy
but
Kaling actually wrote Secret Santa.
really, because I ended up just that's one of
So
the other things I watched.
there's some funny outtakes on Secret Santa where Michael is Santa and he has Kevin sit in his lap, and there's a lot of like there's that scene did not take like that was not a one take scene. That was a many multiple take scene. And John Krasinski even said, I told the camera guy, usually they pan to him for the Jim face. He's like, I told him, don't pan to me. I'm not going to be there. And they actually went to pan over, and he ducked and rolled off on the floor, like out of character, hysterically laughing at Michael and Kevin, which you could see that out, and as an outtake, that's hilarious.
Yeah. There's a couple good ones when he Michael decides to become Jesus, introduces Toby, calls Toby the Antichrist. I was like, all right.
Absolutely loved that episode.
And then he calls David to complain that he wasn't allowed to be Santa and Phyllis got to be.
Yeah.
But overall, it wasn't great. And then they find out the company was sold, and it was just the execs that were fired.
Right.
But to be honest with you, these four episodes is like a unit are like such a slog.
Now we take a turn with
now we're through Christmas break.
Yep.
I would assume. So now we got the little break in the middle of the season. They come back a little fresher with some writing. We'll see what happens.
See.
So that's where I'm at on that. I watched a bunch of other stuff that I'm sure you are behind on too, but we can hit our list first and then
I might be behind. Actually a pretty cool list tonight.
Sweet.
These are 10 movie studio decisions that completely backfired.
Oh.
Now, I don't know if these are in any order, but these are the 10 of the biggest Hollywood mistakes that completely backfired. At number 10, Warner Brothers letting The Lord of the Rings go to another studio. Huge error.
No. Well,
No?
it backfired for Warner Brothers.
Yeah.
But
it won
they
17
would have made
Academy
it.
Awards, $3 billion worldwide.
Yeah, but that's because it wasn't with Warner Brothers.
Right.
If it was with Warner Brothers, it would have been trash.
Well, no, but I
So-
mean, it's like saying,
Backfired
Yahoo
for them,
or
worked out
Google.
for us.
Yes. Number 9, Universal selling the rights to Marvel superheroes. They owned the Marvel superheroes in the 90s. And they sold them for $25 million, including Iron Man, Thor, Black Panther, and Captain America. Actually, I'm sorry. I'm wrong. Universal Pictures had the chance to buy the rights to all of the superheroes for $25 million. Marvel sold Spider-Man to Sony and X-Men to Fox, and then Disney purchased Marvel for $4 billion in 2009. That has turned into a $29 billion box office empire.
Yeah, but Universal still holds on to the Hulk. They still cannot make a movie with Hulk in the title.
Nope.
So instead, we get crap like the Red Hulk and Brave New World, and all of the Hulk characters.
What about the Hulk's son at the end of?
Scar at the end of She-Hulk. Yeah, She-Hulk's fine. And also we get Ragnarok with the buddy Hulk.
Yeah. Number 8,
fine, but
20th Century Fox letting James Cameron keep Avatar's rights. Oof. That one's got to suck for 20th Century Fox, which isn't even a company anymore, but maybe it could have been if they didn't let Cameron keep the rights. I mean, highest grossing movie of all time, $2.9 billion, and he still has the rights.
Yeah, but it's still not good.
Well, I'm not saying it's good, but it's bad for 20th Century Fox for
100%.
rights. Number 7, Warner Brothers, again making the list, choosing Wild Wild West over The Matrix.
Oh, 100% that one.
Yeah.
And with the last one though, I wish there was more of that because it would make less of these stupid reboots and remakes and reimaginings. We get less of that because the studio wouldn't be the ones with the purse strings trying to make it all happen. So you get the actual person's vision instead of somebody else is going, let's go make a buck and go redo Heathers.
You ended up Wild Wild West earned $222 million against a $170 million budget, while the Matrix franchise went over to make $1.8 billion.
Yeah, I enjoyed both. Wild Wild West was a perfectly fine popcorn movie.
Yeah. Number 6, Sony letting Disney take full control of Star Wars. So, and I have something else about Star Wars a little later on that's actually really, really interesting. So in the early 2010s, George Lucas wanted to sell Lucasfilm. He initially approached Sony Pictures, but the studio wasn't interested in taking on such a big project and feared that Star Wars wouldn't be profitable in the modern era. So Lucas turned to Disney. And Lucasfilm was sold for $4 billion in 2012. And we have what we have now.
Yeah, which has been trash. So,
But-
except for Mando.
But would it have been better in Sony's hands? I don't think so.
I don't know that it'd be worse.
I don't know if it would be worse.
I think Sony would be in a very different position. Right? Because
Yeah,
they would probably actually have a streaming service now.
possible.
So and then they don't have to license all those things. They have their own stuff. But it's Sony's still not sure what kind of company they want to be.
Number 5, Paramount turning down Raiders of the Lost Ark. So in the late 70s, George Lucas and Steven Spielberg were shopping around their idea for Raiders of the Lost Ark. They initially approached Paramount Pictures, one of the biggest studios at the times, but executives were skeptical. They didn't believe adventure movies would appeal to modern audiences, fearing the genre was outdated. And Spielberg had a reputation for going over budget after Jaws and Close Encounters, which made Paramount hesitant to trust him. They eventually partnered with Lucasfilm and Walt Disney to bring Indiana Jones to life. And it went on to earn $389 million worldwide, which is the equivalent to over $1 billion today, adjusted for inflation.
Yeah, it was. They should have held on. But again, would it have been as good? I don't know.
I don't know.
Because it's something about having George Lucas and that extra that vibe he had back then.
Yeah.
That probably wouldn't have worked with somebody else, some other corporate guy trying to put a mechanical spider in it.
Number 4, this is a show I have not yet to see, but Fox canceling Firefly before it had a chance.
Yeah, it's a sci-fi show. It would have been fine. I don't know that it would have. I don't know that Firefly would have been as popular if it would have held on longer than those episodes. The fact that those episodes are so good,
Yeah.
and left so much open, and the time that it hit, because I don't know if I showed my kids Firefly, they'd be like, "What is this?"
And they aired them all out of order too.
Yeah, I don't know that show would have held up if it would have been longer,
Right.
or had as big of a following if it had stuck around.
It's got a huge cult following.
Yeah, because the episodes they did are good. I watched it a few years ago, and I watched Serenity. And I thought it was a perfectly serviceable sci-fi show.
Yeah. Number 3, MGM rejecting Pulp Fiction. So when Quentin Tarantino was developing Pulp Fiction in the early 90s, he pitched it to MGM, but the executives were turned off by the script's nonlinear storytelling, excessive violence, and unconventional dialogue. They believed such an experimental film would never be commercially viable and passed on the opportunity to fund it. Thankfully, Miramax stepped in and took the gamble. It had an $8 million budget and grossed over $200 million worldwide.
Look, I saw Pulp Fiction 3 times in the theater when it came out. So
I loved Pulp Fiction.
I can understand that one, why you wouldn't go for that.
Yeah,
There's no reason that should have been a hit. That should have been a weird culty like Reservoir Dogs. Like when people come up to you, "Hey, did you see this movie?" "No, I don't even know what it is." "Oh, you got to see this movie," and you get the VHS and go watch it. Like Clerks,
Right.
made
how I saw
its
Clerks.
rounds. Yeah,
I saw Clerks on VHS during a snowstorm for the first time. I think
Yeah.
it was the blizzard of '93. We were at a friend's house in Northeast Philly, and we watched Clerks probably 7 or 8 times over the course of that snowstorm.
yeah, and Pulp Fiction had that kind of that indie vibe to it. Where why would you think it would be, especially having watched Reservoir Dogs and being like, this was weird. Like Memento, phenomenal movie by Christopher Nolan, but was not commercially successful.
That's the film that revived John Travolta's career.
It was, and it really introduced us to Samuel Jackson.
Yes. Yes.
I mean, he'd been around before and Do the Right Thing and some other stuff, but like that's the movie that like
Yep.
gave him this is your vibe for the next 40 years, bud.
Yep. And he's owned it ever since.
100%.
Yeah. Number 2, Disney losing Pixar in the early 2000s. Pixar
Wait, losing Pixar?
Disney lost Pixar in the early 2000s.
I didn't realize that.
so
I
in the
didn't
late-
realize they had them before that. I thought Pixar was a Steve Jobs jaunt
So
over it.
in the late 90s, Pixar and Disney had a strong partnership, producing some of the biggest hits of the decade: Toy Story in 95, Bugs Life in 98, Toy Story 2. Behind the scenes, a rift grew between Steve Jobs and Michael Eisner at the time. Jobs was frustrated with Disney's strict control over distribution and profits, and the facts that the films were labeled as Disney-Pixar. Let me see. So Jobs decided to sever ties with Disney in 2004, planning to take Pixar's future films elsewhere. Nearly destroyed Disney's animation dominance. Without Pixar, Disney animation went into a downward spiral, releasing a string of underperforming films like Home on the Range, Chicken Little. Meanwhile, Pixar released Finding Nemo, The Incredibles, and Cars. And then Disney just bought them outright in 2006 for $7.5 billion.
That sounds right. Okay. I forgot about that. Quick. Yeah, look, did it backfire? Yeah, because they ended up spending more money, but they made it through okay.
And the number one movie studio decision that completely backfired on this list was Blockbuster passing on buying Netflix for $50 million. That's a big oopsie.
Yeah, I think there's a little more to that story. There's
Of course.
a competing podcast, very similar coverage to us, called Business Wars.
Yes.
That has like an 8-part series on Netflix versus Blockbuster, which is pretty interesting.
I am
But the
fascinated.
business model at the time for Netflix at that point was not like a big streaming service; it was DVD mail.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
it's like the Yahoo Google thing all over again.
which would I love to still be able to go and actually not have to watch a trailer, but just read like this is what this movie could be. 100%, I would love to go be able to do that.
Yeah, sure.
Because there was something about that, man. You'd be like, oh, I got to get my Orville Redenbacher while I get my movie. Like there was a vibe to that like now it's just you sit and you're not. I guess it was you were out of the house scrolling, right through the aisles. But now you just sit there and scroll,
right,
and you never find anything.
I mean, there was something going to Blockbuster when I was with my kid's mother. We would take the kids. We would go to Blockbuster on Frankfurt Avenue, right next to the aquariums and pets on Frankfurt Avenue by Noor Street that I used to work at, and walking up and down the aisles, like, looking for video games. Hey, the kids are going to run over and look at video games. Let's see what movies are out. Do you want to see this? Do you want to see this? And getting to read the back of the box and seeing a little blurb. Now you got to kind of highlight, click into it. I mean, we're all used to it by now, but
and then by the time you get through the
no, Matt, there was no porn at Blockbuster still. You had to go to that little hole in the walls.
By the time you got through the trailer, now you know the whole plot of the movie.
Well, yeah, that also sucks.
Because they're like, we're not going to show you a trailer. We're just going to show you the best part of the movie. Oh, great.
Yeah, T. There were some hotties working at the Blockbuster on Frankfurt Avenue too. I used to get yelled at when we got back to the car for lingering a little longer on the.
But like half your night was like, what kind of movie? And there wasn't millions of choices. There was a couple hundred, just fine.
And that's great though.
Yeah, it was part of the date versus just both staring at your phone on the couch. Like it means you go and interact and do things.
I'm pretty sure I still have Blockbuster, not just movies, but I probably still have some video games that never made it back to Blockbuster.
Yeah, I'm sure there's shows that we talk about you having on your list all the time. You still have from Blockbuster on DVD.
I do not have The Office on DVD. Do not. That was a cool little list. That was something I was bouncing all over the place trying to find something different. Do you have stuff to watch that you to talk
Dude,
about?
I watched so much
have
stuff.
other news stuff to talk about.
It was a busy couple weeks. I'll hit a couple things.
Go ahead.
Before we do our reviews, the stuff I know you haven't hit. Then we'll do some news, and then we'll do our big Daredevil Paradise and Reacher talk. Um, so I watched Saturday Night after last time we talked about the Saturday Night 50th anniversary and
Yeah,
the music special, which the music documentary um, is fantastic.
I have to
Questlove
watch.
produced the whole thing. So many cool performances and stories and things that like I remember watching that it pulls on here and it tells you the story behind it. Like when Rage was on the show, Rage Against the Machine was on the show, and like the fact that they got thrown out of the studio before their second song would have happened, and like the whole backstory to that, and like that's super cool. But go watch that. The first like 8 minutes is worth it by itself.
Okay.
It's a compilation of the 50 years of music that Questlove put together with all of these different performances that are all in the same key and transition together.
Okay.
It's incredible. That doc is well worth the time. And then that got me going, and I ended up watching Saturday Night, the Jason Reitman movie,
Yeah, I haven't seen that yet
about
either.
that first night. Oh
Yeah.
my god. How this movie is not up for like didn't win a dozen Oscars this last week, and I have no idea. It has this It has the retro vibe, it has the time period down, but it has this like kinetic energy that I think you probably only get with a live performance.
Right.
That it runs through the whole thing. And the cast was fantastic.
Oh, that's awesome.
Um, and you get some really random. If you watched Gotham, Corey Michael Smith plays Chevy Chase. He was the Riddler.
Oh, no shit.
Amazing.
Oh,
Dylan
that's
O'Brien plays Dan Aykroyd.
okay.
Um, Lamont Harris, who was in New Girl, plays Garrett Morris, which is great. Finn Wolfhard has like this cameo as like the page out front that's trying to get people in to view the first because nobody knew what it was.
Right.
Nobody knew what the show was. J. Jonah Jameson, what's his name? J.K. Simmons.
J.K. Simmons.
Plays Milton Berle.
Oh, that's kind of awesome.
Like phenomenal. Like it's just this complete douchebag. That's like the ladies' man, but he's already old. I mean, Milton Berle was old back then.
Right.
But just the cast is amazing. It's on Netflix now.
Okay.
Go watch it. It's like 90 minutes and it just chronicles like the 90 minutes before the curtain dropped. It's great.
Okay. Yeah,
So
that's
good.
one I definitely want to see.
I watched that. My wife started watching Running Point, which I got sucked into and thought was hilarious.
I don't know that.
So Running Point is basically the story of Jeannie, what's her name, who owns the Lakers.
Jeannie
But
Buss.
yeah, it's Kate Hudson,
Okay.
created by Mindy Kaling, Ike Barinholtz, and Elaine Coe. It's been in development for like years, like close to a decade, I think. But it's Kate Hudson ends up running a fictional basketball team called the Waves.
Okay.
It's a family show. Her brother goes into rehab, who's played by Justin Theroux, and she ends up being in charge because he thinks she's going to tank it. And you get the storyline with her connecting with that. There's the other two brothers are both great. I didn't know either most of the cast that's in it,
Now I'm looking at the cast now, and I don't know any.
but it is super fun. If you like basketball,
Okay.
if you like Kate Hudson, it's crazy how much more she's looking like Goldie Hawn.
Yeah, I
If
see
she
it.
gets old, like it's wild.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was super fun and a super fast watch. They're like 30-ish minute episodes.
Okay.
And
How
it's
many?
funny
How
and
many?
it's a break from most of the other stuff that we watch.
How many altogether?
Like 8 episodes, 10?
Ah, it's perfect. It's a sweet spot now. 8 to 10 episodes.
10 episodes, 10 half-hour episodes.
That's perfect.
Yeah.
That's
And it's great. It takes you through basketball season. Like there's a lot of little backwards through lines. Tom Hanks's other kid is in it. That I would have never known was Tom Hanks's kid.
oh okay.
Not Colin Hanks.
Right.
This one's actually him and Rita Wilson's son. It's Chet Hanks,
Chet Hanks. Okay.
who looks like Aaron Paul met Logan Paul.
That's funny.
Like he's like built, all tatted up,
Okay.
like and like this crazy energy that's very Aaron Paul in Breaking Bad.
Okay.
But Running Point is great. It's super fun. I started Suits LA. I got through the first 2 episodes with your boy, Stephen Amell. I don't know why it's called Suits LA because there's nothing tying it back to the show Suits other than it's about lawyers.
Okay.
I know Gabriel Macht and and the guy that was Louis Litt are going to make appearances later on this season. So we'll see how it ties back.
I never
Not
watched
great
the
so
original.
far. Not great so far. Oh, Chet Hanks was on The Surreal Life. See, Maddie K coming
Coming in
through
hot.
with dropping in knowledge for us.
I never watched the original one, so this is like as much as really enjoy Stephen Amell and how wonderful he is on social media sometimes, I probably gonna have to pass on this one.
I loved the first run.
Yeah, you had said that
Um,
last week.
yeah, I really liked the way it has. This one does not have the charm that the first one had, or as intriguing of a plot line.
Well, it's only 2 episodes. Maybe it'll get
Yeah, I'm hoping it gets better. You know, you give the pilot some leeway,
what do
but
they
like,
usually say? 3 to 4 episodes into a new season is kinda when a show finds its footing?
yeah. So we'll see what happens. We'll see if it lasts that long. But like the original, like they lost their Mike, which was like the bright-eyed, bushy-tailed kid who was the genius fake lawyer. That was the whole premise of the show,
Right.
and replaced him down the road with like Katherine Heigl and Dule Hill
Oh.
as characters, which were great. Katherine Heigl's fantastic on the show.
Not a big fan of hers.
Yeah, I wasn't either, but this show got me sold on her again because she's so good in it.
Okay.
Same thing with Dule Hill. I mean, he's from Psych, and he's
Right.
always phenomenal.
Right.
But yeah, it's the original Suits was very well done. This one is maybe we'll see what happens.
Okay.
I watched Venom: Last Dance,
Sorry.
also on Netflix. It was great.
Yeah?
I had a blast.
Oh, really?
Super funny,
Okay.
and it's like the other. It's better than Venom 2
Okay.
by leaps and bounds.
I'll have to give it I can't remember when the last time I actually watched a movie was. It's all been TV shows.
On par with Venom 1 for me, but way
Okay.
funnier than Venom 1.
All right.
Like
I'll have to give it a
I
shot.
had a blast. Yeah,
Alright.
it's. I mean, I don't know that they meant it to be a comedy, but
Probably not.
I enjoyed it immensely. I watched it with the family. We all had a good time. Nobody was like, "Man, we just wasted an hour and a half of our lives," like I do every time I watch 3 episodes of The Office.
Yeah.
Nobody said that.
Fair. Fair. Fair.
But yeah, super fun. 2 other quick things that I know you didn't watch, then we'll hit news real quick. Invincible is having like its best season 3.
Mhm.
On par with season 1. I know you're behind.
I saw you and Dom talking about it, but I didn't read it because I'm
Yeah.
eventually probably gonna watch it.
We didn't say any spoilers in there because we know you haven't watched it.
It's alright, I wasn't interested. I'm kidding.
So yeah, Invincible is doing really compelling storylines, moving things forward in a quick manner, like Robert Kirkman likes to do when he's allowed to. And just diving into some like fairly deep issues is like with these superheroes, similar to The Boys, you know, like, but like on the side of like if the boys actually had a conscience, like
Right.
how do you deal with the fallout of the fact that like you got in a fight with another superhero and thousands of people died?
Right. The boys, they don't care.
Especially as like an 18-year-old kid. Like how do you deal with all that? And it's really doing good stuff this season. The episodes are long, not gonna lie. Like there's
That's what's
sometimes the post credits are 20 minutes long.
ugh.
They'll do a post credit scene, but it's all good stuff.
Right.
I thought season 2 was really good, but the break was tough. In the middle of the season and from season 1, but there's 1 episode left of Invincible, and it's doing great work. Severance had it's better, one of its best episodes ever last week, 2 weeks ago. Last week was one of its worst episodes ever. But I think it was probably necessary to set up where they want to go
Okay.
through the rest of the season. But Severance continues to be one of the best shows on TV.
You said that. I know.
Yeah, it's just it's a lot. It's a lot to take in. It's a lot to deal with. So like it's you need things to relieve yourself, like Harley Quinn, and now Running Point for you. But like Harley Quinn's also still great. It's so good.
I believe you.
It's a little adult, but it's
Believe
very
you.
good. Yeah. All right. That
I don't have
was
I
watching
don't have a
stuff.
ton of news stuff. Some stuff we didn't get to talk about the James Bond thing, right? So Amazon took over creative control of the James Bond franchise. So apparently what happened was the Broccoli family has run James Bond for over 60 years. Okay. Wilson and Barbara Broccoli took over from Albert Cubby Broccoli, who produced every Bond film from 1962's Dr. No to 1989's License to Kill. And they were going to work alongside Amazon on future Bond projects since Amazon took over and I think they own MGM. Yeah. All right. So there was a December report in the Wall Street Journal that Barbara Broccoli was quoted as telling friends that Amazon executives were, quote, fucking idiots, end quote. The remark reportedly infuriated Jeff Bezos. He read her quote in the journal, got on the phone, and said, I don't care what it costs. Get rid of her. Amazon has since denied this report, but Bezos ended up paying close to $1 billion to get full control of the James Bond franchise in February of this year. The acquisition gives Amazon carte blanche on anything James Bond going forward, meaning they can do whatever they want in this franchise.
Yeah.
So we touched on it before, but a new report just came out that Amazon has said that James Bond will remain British and male under Amazon's management of the character. And I know we talked on it. I do remember mentioning it before, how like them owning it kind of opens up the door maybe for a 006 or a 008 or, different iterations of that James Bond not being the man, but James Bond being the man, but 007 just being the number. It doesn't have to be.
Well, you can have 007 be James Bond all the time.
Sure.
Right? And that's fine. But then you can introduce other 00s. Right. I think it's good and bad that Amazon bought it, right? The plus side is Amazon has all the money and they have no problem making things.
Yeah. One of the things that Amazon wanted to do pitched to them was do stuff about side characters like Miss Moneypenny, Q, M. And that's where she reportedly was like calling them names.
Yeah, the bad part about Amazon having it is that Amazon also has zero issues with canceling shit after one season, even if it's a great season. Like their League of Their Own remake was so good.
And gone.
Right. Like I was like, oh, I'll watch 3 more seasons of this. And they're like, nah, we're good.
Yeah, they also, with them owning MGM, they also own the Stargate franchise, which has been stuck in limbo basically for years now. Which is a shame because it's a very fruitful franchise. They have a lot of different avenues for storytelling. Stargate SG-1 ran for over 200 episodes, 10 years. Atlantis ran for 6 seasons, and then the next one after that ran for like 2 seasons, I think, before it got cut. And they haven't done anything with it. It's just sitting there. It's a IP that they have that would probably make them a ton of money today.
Maybe
if you did it right. So that's the James Bond thing. The new wrestling movie is coming out this week, with, Emily, what the heck's her name?
Boxing.
It's not, it's wrestling.
I could have sworn it was boxing.
Queen of the Ring. It's boxing. It's wrestling.
I really thought it was boxing.
Emily Bett Rickards. She plays Mildred Burke, a real life wrestler who fought against restrictive rules to become an iconic athlete. Stars Walton Goggins as a wrestling promoter, alongside Josh Lucas, Tyler Posey, Francesca Eastwood, Deborah Ann Wool, she's got free time on her hands, Cara Buono, and Martin Cove's in it, along with some other famous wrestling personas over the years. Jim Cornette has a bit part in it, I believe. This looks great. It really does. It looks like it. This movie looks absolutely great. This is one that I would actually go to the movies to see.
Oh, look at you. Is it coming out in the movies?
Came out 3 days ago. Came out March 7th.
Okay.
Is it in the movies? Yeah, I think it is in the movies. I think.
It'll be streaming in a week or two.
Probably. That's the way things go. See.
Look, I'll watch it. I don't know that it's my cup of tea. But I'll go give it a shot because I liked her.
Some Star Wars stuff. Galaxy's Edge is going to be launching a new Mandalorian mission May 22nd, 2026 to tie in with the movie. So it's going to be in the Smuggler's Run ride,
Okay.
the Millennium Falcon or Falcon. I'm actually really excited about that because my son and I are planning a trip, not this year, but hopefully next year towards the end of the year in like November-ish. That's awesome. I love that. Disney's financial statements confirmed what Star Wars was over budget on some of their stuff. So we had The Force Awakens in 2015 was made within budget. Rogue One in 2016, The Last Jedi in 2017, and Solo, a Star Wars story in 2018 were all over budget. Rise of Skywalker was under budget. Andor Season 1 was within budget. The Acolyte was over budget. And Andor Season 2 was within budget.
Okay.
Which brings us to the story that I just started reading about today. That George Lucas had a TV show planned that was going to cost, at the time, an estimated $40 million per episode. He had 60 scripts written. Okay? This is an absolute... Have you even heard about this yet?
No, I haven't at all.
This is an absolutely wild story. So, the article starts off, you may have heard about the tragedy of George Lucas the Wise.
Oh, no.
So, in an interview on a podcast called the Young Indie Chronicles podcast, producer Rick McCallum, who worked with Lucas back in the early 2000s on all the prequel, detailed just how insane this would have been. The show would have been called Star Wars Underworld, was supposed to be a more dark, sexy, and violent Star Wars production than anything before it. And this was after George Lucas had just made the 6 movies, the original 3, and then the prequel series. Mm-hmm. This is pre-Disney, nothing else, no Mandalorian, nothing, okay? Yep. He had a full 60 scripts written for the series. The show was meant to connect to the video game Star Wars 1313. I don't know if you heard of that. I vaguely remember that. It was a project that ended up getting canceled where Lucas offered direct, often incredibly tough feedback to implement input about its direction. One day he famously said that the game should simply star Boba Fett when they were already like more than halfway into making it. The most eye-popping aspect of this is that Underworld was reportedly going to cost $40 million per episode. $20 million per episode series are the higher end now.
Yeah.
This is back in the early 2000s. John Williams was supposed to score the entire series. If you add up $40 million per episode at 60 episodes, that's $2.5 billion.
Which is what Amazon spent on Lord of the Rings. So, today.
HBO was the only network entertaining this, but there was no way to justify that price.
Yeah.
In a weird twist, Lucas was set to have a meeting with HBO CEO Chris Albrecht at Skywalker Ranch, but a day before, Albrecht was arrested for assault and HBO forced him to resign.
Oh.
And Disney stepped in. Can you imagine a world where George Lucas doesn't sell to Disney in 2012 and makes this TV show the direction that Star Wars could have gone without Disney involved? You think it would have been better knowing what we know now with Lucas firmly in control, or do you think it would have went off the rails?
I don't know how long he would have been allowed to stay in control. You know what I mean? And this is right around Game of Thrones era for HBO.
Yeah.
So I think instead you got Game of Thrones instead of this.
Disney would have never offered to buy Star Wars if he had made this.
No. I think you would have had him in it, and then he would have gotten distracted, same as he did with Clone Wars.
Possibly.
And just been an advisor, and you would have seen it just take all sorts of weird, and you would have lost the magic
Okay.
You know what I mean? You would have lost the shine off Star Wars. That's still not as there as it was, for sure.
But you
But you would have
definitely
lost
wouldn't
it sooner.
you wouldn't have gotten the Mandalorian and Grogu. I don't think you would have
I
gotten
mean, that's fine. You definitely wouldn't have
almost
gotten those awful sequels.
you wouldn't have gotten the awful sequels, or if you did get sequels, you would have gotten 3 movies that actually connected to each other in a cohesive way instead of a let's just throw shit at the wall for the 3rd movie and see what we can come up with.
Yeah.
I really would have liked a darker story about the underbelly of Coruscant. I actually really would have liked something.
Well, we're getting that though. In
There's
Andor.
worse. Andor, yes. It to me.
But I mean, we're getting it now in Andor.
And I know people are there's people that say Andor is boring. It's the worst thing they've ever done. It to me is at the top of the list right now.
I'm not thrilled about the release schedule for Andor, but
No, I don't
it's-
have that in front of me. I forget
it's
what they're.
three episodes a week.
Yeah, and then every 2 episodes it jumps a year.
Every
Or is it
3 episodes.
it
It's
jumps.
every week it jumps.
Okay.
But 3 episodes a week is a lot of
Yeah, it
time
is.
that you're requiring me to watch a movie a week.
Basically.
Unless it's that Mandalorian bullshit where like one episode's 23 minutes and one episode's 47 and one episode's 22, but there's 12 minutes of credits, so they're like it's a 40-minute episode. We'll see. I'm glad it worked out the way that it did for the most part. I think them bringing back in more of the legend stuff, because I think there was a lot of really good stuff written for Star Wars that was never committed to film. But we'll see where all that goes with Andor. We're only a couple weeks out.
Yeah, April 22nd. 1 month. We'll be in the baseball season when that happens. That was really it for the news. I didn't have I didn't pull a lot of stuff today.
Cool.
I wanted to spend a couple minutes on Daredevil and Paradise.
Yeah, and we had Reacher
And Reacher.
Mythic Quest. Mythic Quest, just go watch Mythic Quest. It's fun.
Mythic Quest was great. I don't even have to break. We don't even have to break that. That was great. It was hilarious.
No, this week brought a Senate meeting in, which was so good.
Hilarious.
And Ian and Poppy continue to be just a fantastic duo that I don't know where they're going to end up. It's weird. It's turned into a will they, won't they, which it wasn't ever really before.
I don't want them to get together.
I don't think they will, which is the beauty of it.
Yeah.
That's the beauty of it. Like, I don't think they will, but that plutonic love that Ian doesn't know how to deal with is fascinating to me. And then Reacher. Go ahead.
I didn't realize the girl that he's sometimes with, Ian in that, is the waitress from Waiting, the nasty waitress.
Oh, I did not know that.
That's her. Yeah.
Oh, his ex-wife?
Yeah, his ex-wife is the nasty waitress. I forget her name, but the nasty waitress from Waiting.
Huh.
I love Poppy too. I just something about her. She's just so like goofy, but like.
Oh, so I never got to ask you. You finally watched the flashback episode, right? The one of Poppy and Ian as kids? Because you finally binged it, so you finally saw that one.
Yes.
The girl that cast as Poppy in that. Unreal.
Yeah.
Like how much if you go side by side, like holy crap.
Absolutely.
The mannerisms, everything.
Alana Ubach is the waitress from Waiting.
Oh, yeah. No idea.
Yeah.
So, go watch Mythic Quest. Reacher, I don't have a lot to say about Reacher. It's good.
No, it's great. It is great.
Reacher's gonna reach. He's doing his things. There's a couple little things in it that are like driving me nuts. Like when he would keep walking into the house.
Hang on a second. I gotta dip for 1 second.
Yeah. He would keep walking into the house and forget to wipe his feet. There's no way that Reacher, with all his military training and his manners that he seems to have through everything, would forget ever to wipe his feet once he was told once to do it every time he walked in. But yeah, Reacher so far it's fun. It's doing what it's doing. It's not like there's anything to nitpick on it because it's not that kind of show. Where they're trying to build like, let's tie back to this and that and the other thing. But there's the little idiosyncrasies like that. The flashback episode that sets us up for why he's involved with all of this is really good. Some great acting there. The girl that played the private, I want to say it was, or sergeant, whichever one it was, that he has to interact with, that tells you why he's on this mission that he's on, was good. The action's the same way. He slimmed down a little bit, so he still looks like he shouldn't be able to walk or move or run, but he still manages to pull it off. And we do get Paulie, who is, hopefully we don't wait till the last episode of the season to get to that big fight between the two of them. Specialist, there you go. Hopefully we don't wait till the very end of the season to get the big fight with Reacher and Paulie. We got a taste of it already. And with Reacher saying it's not that I'm scared of him, I just haven't figured out how to beat him yet, which is, takes you back to, as T was saying in the chat, that Reacher's a crazy person. All right, she was a staff sergeant. See, look, she was a rank in the armed forces that was below Reacher. That's all I got. But good storytelling in that show. It's fun. It's doing like I said, it's doing what it's always does, and in a fun, enjoyable way. So keep watching Reacher. We'll hit that up in a little bit deeper in the next week or so. When Frank gets back in a second. Paulie bruised up the whole side of his face. Did some crazy stuff with that one hit. A little bit faster than you'd expect a guy that's 7'2". It's just literally an entire foot taller, from what I think I read, than Alan Richardson is. So more power to him. We also have the news that Alan Richardson has now said that he will play Batman. He wouldn't even have to get paid. He wants to be Batman so bad, and still all that wild speculation that, that's the size of the Batman that was in the Creature Commandos, because apparently everybody's forgotten that was also the size of Batman in the animated series and The Brave and the Bold, and basically every iteration of Batman in cartoon has been that big of a Batman since the 90s. Still not, it was not the size of Absolute Batman, as T's calling out. So I think we talked about this a few weeks ago, but DC's doing a run with their Trinity, Wonder Woman, Batman, and Superman, called the Absolute series, and the Absolute take on them. The Absolute take on Batman is actually pretty fascinating. It's if Bruce had been on track to become an architect and had not come from a ton of money or a family and had to be ingenious in different ways than just throwing money at every problem that he has. But the take on that Bruce is that he is just he would make Alan Richardson look like a small guy. He's just a massive human being. But then he's friends with like the Riddler and Harvey and all these other characters that you have as side characters and villains in the mainstream reality. But Absolute Batman's been good. Not as good as Absolute Superman, in my opinion, or Absolute Wonder Woman, which are both doing amazing storylines over there. This is if the Wonder Woman storyline of Wonder Woman had been raised by Cersei in Hell instead of on Paradise Island, and how that would work out, and what kind of person she'd become, and how she would interact with everybody, and still brings in Steve Trevor too. It's great. And then the Superman one is modern day. You still get Lois Lane. Superman's a very different kind of person, how he interacts, but he also left Krypton as like a teenager, and was a farmer and from a different class than they show him in the in most of the movies. So it's a very interesting take on class structure and on all of that they're doing in Absolute Superman. But all three of those series are absolutely great, to use the word absolutely in a different way from the titles of them. But hey, Frank's back.
Yay!
So how about that dude with the horns? And we're going to go spoilers there. I would assume that 5 days in, anybody still listening has probably seen Daredevil, which is why, as I said earlier, we're going to hold off on Paradise until after we do Daredevil, and maybe talk light spoilers for Paradise. But it's one of those you have to go in blind and not know anything, and it is fantastic.
Yep.
So we'll hit that a little deeper after we hit Daredevil. But what'd you think, man? We got 2 episodes. And again, spoilers.
I thought the first 10, 15 minutes of Daredevil was a little janky CGI wise. I like the overall arc that the episodes are in. I understand where they're going with Matt and the whole break the character down to build them back up kind of a thing, which is typical superhero stuff, right?
It's very typical Daredevil stuff.
And very typical Daredevil stuff from what I've read. Um, I was initially really upset to see Foggy only in it for 5-6 minutes and Karen in it for maybe 5-6 minutes total.
Yeah, it's weird after all the talk of, we can't do this series without
Right.
Eldon and Deborah. We got to bring them back in. And you're like, oh, you didn't change shit. You added 5 minutes of video.
Right.
But apparently that part was just like spoken in the original version. Like it all still happened. They just didn't show it.
Okay. Now, supposedly Karen will be back more in season 2, and there's actually more stuff regarding her in season 1. I didn't look for spoilers, but she kind of come out and said it. She's apparently a little Tom Hollandish when it comes to talking about projects. So
there's precedent for Daredevil to be in San Francisco as well.
Well,
so
yeah,
in the comics, he moved to San Francisco.
Oh.
In the comics, he moved to San Francisco 2 different times.
Right.
So there is precedent for that. Not with Karen Page, because I think the second move was after Karen. Spoilers for a 40-year-old comic book issue that Kevin Smith, or a 35-year-old issue Kevin Smith wrote. In the comics, Bullseye kills Karen. Karen is also not anywhere near this involved for most of the time. There's a solid 10 years of the comics, if not more, she's gone as a druggie, full blown, and then she comes back and she and Matt are madly in love and married, and then she gets a little bit jealous and they try and work it out, and then Bullseye says, oh, you love her? It's a wrap. And then no more Karen. And they haven't brought her back yet. So that's good.
I love the diner scene that they pretty much gave you a big chunk of during the
trailer.
But hang on one second.
So yeah, I enjoyed that we finally got a swinging Daredevil. We got it slightly in She-Hulk, so this is the Disney part where we get Daredevil with the Billy Club and actually being able to swing through the sky and everything like that for the first couple minutes. That was great.
The only thing I hope is we don't have to wait until episode 8 until he puts the costume back on. That's what I mean. I like a lot of dialogue, and I like a lot of those moving scenes like that, but I don't want to wait until the very end of the show for you to drop him in a costume, for you to tell me season 2 is all costume.
Yeah, from what I've heard, it's not going to be soon.
Yeah, it's a superhero show, and I want to see a superhero. I like the other scenes.
Yeah, we got one retired and one in prison. Okay, those are your 2 superheroes on the show. Sorry, your 2 vigilantes.
I did love Kingpin and marriage counseling.
Yeah, which so speaking of that, so the Heather Glenn character, that is now Matt's love interest for whatever reason.
Sure.
Which makes no sense, but
That's
whatever.
A hoe.
Has a very complicated comic history.
Okay.
So during the original Born Again run, right around that time, she commits suicide in the comics.
Oh.
But she came into the comic books as like an heiress to a huge corporation.
Okay.
Who really liked Matt and was always stopping into the office with Foggy and Matt and visiting and this, that, and the other thing. But Matt was always out and about, not being Daredevil and not always there. So she ended up leaving him and ended up taking over the company after her father died and was implicated in all sorts of crazy stuff. This was back in like the 70s. But if there was a stretch during Daredevil's run where it was Daredevil and Black Widow was the actual name of the comic, because they were a couple. After Black Widow was taken out of the comic, then we got Heather Glenn was introduced. So complete reimagination of her character. But Matt always has some kind of random love interest in the comics. There was another blind girl he was in love with for a long time that I'm surprised we haven't hit that storyline yet. And this show is taking from 2 or 3 different storylines that have been done over the years through the comics. You know, I read the whole run when they announced this show, from like whatever issue 16 or whenever he got his new costume all the way through. And the number of times that you've seen Matt go, all right, I'm done being Daredevil, blah, blah, blah. That's every writer's favorite storyline to take with him. Is he's not Daredevil anymore. He's back to just being a guy, being a lawyer, being the latest run has him not Daredevil. He's just a priest. So
Who, Matt Murdock's a priest? I don't need.
Yep, in the
I
new
don't.
comic, yeah, in the latest issue. Which
I
in
don't.
the latest run, we also had Foggy passed away,
Right.
died, and then Matt goes into hell to save him.
I
And when
think
he's
you're the
in
one.
hell, he ends up losing his memory and getting he dies and gets reincarnated as a priest.
That's comic books, right?
Yeah, and then as people see him in the Daredevil costume, they're like, "Oh, I remember you now. This is you, and you need to remember all this stuff." So we start getting that. You get, little Gandolfini.
Yeah.
Um,
I don't hate it. I don't hate it.
yeah, he's a weird proxy so far for Kingpin's son.
Okay.
So I wouldn't be surprised if he ends up being related to Kingpin.
Right.
And his mom told him he's Kingpin's son, and he's working his way up. And I think you don't get an actor like that
For a bit role.
without having some kind of reveal coming up.
Right. Right.
Yes, we have Fisk as the mayor. We get, he mentions the guy with the skull. He mentions Punisher. He mentions Spider-Man. He mentions Daredevil during his speech. We get White Tiger with the intro. That hole in the highway looks like it's a tie-in back to No Way Home.
Oh, okay.
I feel like that's the hole from the Doc Ock Peter Parker fight.
Oh, I didn't even think about
That looked like the same scene. I haven't seen that yet.
But they're not allowed to use Spider-Man on the TV show. Spider-Man's only for the movies or something.
No, no. I don't know why they couldn't. They own Spider-Man TV rights. Spider-Man TV rights are like fair game.
Yeah.
But that looked like that reference.
Okay. That makes a ton of sense.
Right, that like he took over during that stretch. That's right around where the timeline should be. So I thought that was neat. You have the commissioner doing the thing where you get, and hey, for us, the ties to Philly, right? It's like, oh, down in King of Prussia. I just took a trip to King of Prussia to my favorite cheesesteak, D'Angelo's. I'm like, well, that's why your cheesesteak sucks.
That's why you're in the wrong one. Yeah. Wait, I'm reading this. Sony has long form television rights. I don't know if that means he can show up. You can do like 30-minute animation, I think. That was the
so for live action, they own.
Yeah.
But you don't need Spider-Man in it, right? Like, it'd be great, but you can reference him, and know Matt Murdock knows him because he defended him in No Way Home,
right?
So it ties it. So it's weird how that. So is that the Matt Murdock we got in No Way Home? Is this Matt Murdock?
Well, I guess,
right? Who's after Foggy's death? Who's the one that's just a defense lawyer?
But he wouldn't remember that because of the spell.
He would not. He would not know who Peter was. But Matt wasn't in this scene.
No, but he was in the world when it happened. I mean, they did that to the world.
I'm just saying, timeline-wise, I think that's what this is showing us. That like,
gotcha, right?
We don't have to, because it was a year after Echo, right?
Yes.
So that all lines up time-wise pretty well.
They referenced that and showed some flashback from that.
Yeah, I think that's where we're at.
Okay.
I'm intrigued to see what they do with the commissioner. It was nice to hear the commissioner call him Kingpin, because I don't know that we ever got him called Kingpin in the Netflix show. I'm enjoying the Cherry character so far. His PI guy whose retirement party was the Oedipus of the first episode.
Yeah.
But who then saw his face, so was like, okay, well, now he knows the master. And, oh, look at that. Oh, you retired, so I'm not going to try and arrest you. Got it. Blah, blah, blah. And then, we get the marriage counseling, like you said. Matt finally finds a witness because the other cops lead him there. And then we get that fight scene, which was in the trailer. So so far we've worked through most of the trailer. There's not a lot other than like the couple scenes with Frank Castle and the scene with the different masks that was in the trailer. I think we hit most of the longer scenes that were in the trailer are all done. I think that other stalker of Heather's, there's the two. There's the one that works for Fisk that we kept seeing, which is actually a character from the comics called Bullet.
Okay.
It was introduced in the like late '80s in Daredevil. That's like another hired hitman, and walks the line between good and bad. But I think this guy's just going to turn out to be straight bad. But is all about protecting his kid. So I hope they don't take away that storyline.
So according to this, the watch order and the way it takes place in the timeline is Daredevil 1, 2, Punisher 1, Daredevil 3, Punisher 2, No Way Home, Hawkeye, Echo, She-Hulk, Born Again. So She-Hulk is before Born Again according to this.
Well, that makes sense.
Right.
But it's weird that No Way Home is supposed to be that far before all that. So that means by the time we get to the next Spider-Man movie, he's been operating for years.
Right. So actually, No Way Home takes place in late 2024. Hawkeye takes place Christmas 2024. Echo takes place in 2025. She-Hulk in 2025. Born Again 2025. So it's literally a year.
Oh.
It feels like it's so long because it's been so long.
Right. So our flashback at the beginning is
Look-
before No Way Home.
Correct.
So like I said, we got Matt Murdock, who is
Right.
in his just all lawyer all the time.
Yep.
Not Daredevil when he's in No Way Home, which then explains away why Daredevil wasn't in No Way Home and just Matt Murdock.
Yes.
Got it. Because otherwise, like, if Matt Murdock's involved with the case, there's zero reason Daredevil wouldn't have been helping Spider-Man fight his 700 bad guys that he had in the middle of New York.
So, according to this, Foggy is killed after the events of She-Hulk. So that's after No Way Home.
So they don't know what they're talking about then.
No. This
Got
is just...
Because then there's a year after the events with Foggy before this show.
So by episode 2 of Born Again, it's New Year's Eve into 2027. So the bulk of Born Again happens in 2027, which sets it after Agatha, concurrent with Brave New World. However, without getting too heavily into spoilers, time jump continues to jump forward a bunch through season 1 of Born Again, meaning the end of the season likely takes place after the end of Brave New World.
None of that makes sense.
I don't. The MCU timeline is so weird now.
I don't even know how Brave New World is supposed to be in 2027.
I can't wait for Secret Wars to erase everything and reset.
Yeah, let's do it.
Uh,
I did enjoy the fight scene at the end. Let's
Absolutely.
see what happens. I want to see, like you said, I want to see Daredevil swinging from rooftops and doing Daredevil shit.
Yes.
I don't need to see
But
a
with better
lawyer show that they can't control his temper and gets into fights. I want to see. I want my comic book shows to be comic booky. Like, have fun with it.
Yeah.
It doesn't have to be super grounded. But I appreciate the groundedness. But like, go the whole 9 yards. Like, go all in.
Yes, please.
And yeah, look, we'll see. Tomorrow's another episode. We'll see how we can negotiate going into next week. Thanks for sticking around, everybody. We will hit Paradise more. Give you all a week to watch it.
Yes.
I will say this, and this is not spoilery at all. James Marsden is a much better actor than I ever assumed that he was. He is hands down amazing in this show.
Yeah, he is.
And episode 7 of this show, which you need to watch the first 6 before you go to, is probably my favorite episode of television in the last at least 5 years.
I have to agree. It was absolutely amazing TV.
And this is me that hates everything that you guys are all like, oh, well, Jack's going to hate this one. I have zero bad critiques about Paradise. I can probably find some, but like, start to finish, it's so good. I can't encourage enough people to watch it. Season 2 is already guaranteed, so you won't be disappointed. It's already picked up. It's a 3-season arc is what it seems like. So
that's what they
go
said.
Burn through it, watch it. We'll talk about it. We'll have some fun. That is all the things that we are going to hit.
Yes, sir.
Thanks for finding the Geek Spot. You can check me out at Jack Kid Music, doing a bunch of shows all over for St. Patty's Day and all those kinds of things this weekend. And catch me all the other places after that. Frank's at Gimzack. You can always find him, and go find him at, what's it? Island of...
The Island of Relevancy will be live once a week.
There you go. So catch him on Island of Relevancy. Go give them a like and subscribe. And we will catch you all next time. Thanks, everybody.
Bye. Play us out.